Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
I'm Juliet, and we've got an exciting design challenge to review here.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw, howdy indeed.
I think I may have weaponized our audience against us for fun and profit, because we had by far our biggest submissions last month, which was 24. And of course, someone is looking at those numbers and saying, well, what would it take to get to 3 episodes? How about something like, I don't know, 33 or 36? And guess what we got? The troops are rallied. Everyone, people were mildly bullying each other to submit cards. And we got way more than our most submissions ever this month. So this is the horse. It's the horse month, where we talk about the horse all the time.
Well, let's saddle up and get started. Our March design challenge was Year of the Horse. Design a legendary card with saddle. This, of course, being the Year of the Horse.
The year of the, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, a couple bonus points as well, like we like to do. Casimir Pulaski Day is or cares about knights. So knights, like horseback knights. And then the other challenge's name is All Men Have Their Appointed Time. That's something no horse can change. An effect that lasts indefinitely. Target creature gets +1/+1 forever. Delu Horse is like the magic card reference, an accidental card that lasts indefinitely. So saddle.
Saddle's an interesting keyword. It has some nuances compared to crew. You can only saddle as a sorcery, and functionally, most of the cards that have been printed with saddle have a very specific timing trigger, which is when this creature attacks while saddled, or occasionally enters or attacks while saddled, but mostly attacks while saddled. That lets you do your saddling in first main phase and then attack with this creature and have this trigger happen once per turn. You can instead have something like when this creature is saddled, but that gets much more fuzzy with low saddle costs and things like that. So there's definitely flexibility to do other triggers, but the kind of default from the existing, I don't know, 30 cards with saddle is you have this kind of attacks while saddled style trigger.
Yeah, so we'll see if we get a bunch of horses, if we get a bunch of other flying creatures, if we get twists on saddle. We try to be pretty flexible, where if people wanted to say I don't really like saddle, but I like the saddle area, we might see some of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then our first submission, it sort of came in before the challenge was posted.
Yeah.
Why don't you read that? Then
The day before.
Yeah.
Pat just put this into, I think, our Whatnot channel instead of the design challenge, because it was before the design challenge came out. The design comes from Pat. It is Yoshi. It is 2 and a green for a 3/3 creature dinosaur mount at uncommon with saddle 1, and whenever this creature becomes blocked, you may sacrifice it. If you do, choose a creature you control that saddled it this turn. That creature is now attacking. It isn't blocked.
This is somehow Yoshi's legacy, right? That Mario's riding Yoshi around in Super Mario World or something like that. And he makes a jump. He's not quite getting far enough in the jump, so you can just jump off of Yoshi, have him plummet into the pit, and then Mario go to safety.
Mm-hmm.
And that's maybe what this mechanic is representing.
Mount as a form of double jump is, I think, a thing that platformers, especially 2D platformers, have really developed or invented for us, and then it's fun to see that in a Magic card form.
Yeah, and I think both this mechanic is both a decent representation of that. I knew what Pat was going for, and also kind of an interesting chunk of gameplay, because it's sort of an evasion thing for this other creature. I've got some 1/1 with a devastating, when this deals combat damage to a player, they discard their hand or whatever. And my opponent has this choice of, I could just take the 3 from Yoshi, or I can block Yoshi and then the rider slingshots past and hits me. I can see there being kind of uses of that, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just read Saddle's like rules text
Oh
once
yeah.
real quick, just because that's probably useful for some of our listeners. Saddle 1, for instance, would say, tap any number of other creatures you control with total power 1 or more. This
Hmm.
mount becomes saddled until end of turn. Saddle only as a sorcerer.
Yeah, so crew, but on things that are already creatures. They're usually. I think this is another interesting thing about this card, is that it like is a little different from most of the saddle cards that we've seen so far. Which, like you said earlier, like is sort of this I don't know, attack triggery, sort of like, hey, I get bigger, or
Hmm.
I draw a card, or something like that. This is not an attack trigger. This is when I become blocked, slingshot my rider. So it's even kind of expanding what you could use saddle for.
I think in that sort of slingshot space, if you're trying to do this card not as directly a Yoshi reference,
Hmm.
I think in the sort of like goblin on like
Hmm.
in like a slingshot
Hmm.
sort of contraption
Mhm.
or something, there's something there as far as like here's a scarecrow that's also a slingshot or a golem or construct or something maybe.
Yeah, hopping off of the mounted creature and straight into being attacking, I think is a
Hmm.
cool. Like you could get another couple cards out of that beyond the Yoshi execution, I guess.
Yeah, honestly, anything that is like charging like on top of a creature,
Hmm.
you kind of make that flavor work.
Yeah, the cool action movie thing of like leaping off the horse to like slash somebody or whatever.
Hmm. Do
Uh,
the Akira slide on the horse and then and jump off the horse.
has has someone done the Akira slide but on Yoshi? Does that exist? Is that like a shirt on Think Geek or something?
Akira slide with Luigi on one of the bikes.
Hmm.
Okay, here's somebody's fan art, but not on a shirt. It's just
Yeah.
somebody's fan art.
Are you looking at Rhett's Rick or something here?
Yeah, Red Cirque on Facebook.
There's Yoshi on a motorcycle with a gun doing the Akira slide.
Okay. Yeah,
Anyhow.
the bonus point of to give us an effect that lasts indefinitely is of course a reference to the riding the Delu horse. But I think it's fun in that Magic does have plenty of things that last indefinitely and plenty of things that don't.
Hmm.
And in this case, Yoshi is sacrificed,
Hmm.
and that's an effect that lasts indefinitely. You know what I mean? Like that's until whenever, state or anything like that. That's a pretty
What's more indefinite than
yeah.
death? Yeah. All right, good point. Good insight there. That does last indefinitely. No knights here, but I don't know. Maybe when they make another medieval Mario, we can have a Mario knight, Princess
Yeah,
Knight.
exactly. Thanks for the
Uh,
submission, Pat, and just incredible
yeah,
forethought to
absolutely.
anticipate.
Outmaneuvering us, flanking us. All right, our next card is from Albie, who is a new submitter. New submitter. New. Thank you for joining the community and sending us a card. This card is called Kelith Teferi's Mount. It's 2 white blue, so 4 mana for a 2/4. Legendary creature horse mount. So 4 mana 2/4. When Kelith enters, create a 2/2 white and blue knight creature token with vigilance. Whenever Kelith attacks while saddled, you get an emblem with knights you control. Wait, what? You get an emblem with knights you control get +1/+0 and have ward 1. And Kelith is saddle 2.
The extra text here we're given is Kelith had fought in interplanar wars before, but none as large as the invasion of New Phyrexia, referencing both Kelith's Sunmane Familiar, the
Oh.
commander partner card, and Invasion of New
Ah.
Phyrexia, which is a blue-white battle from March of the Machines, the front of which you creating the white and blue 2/2 night
Uh-huh.
creatures, and the back of which is a Teferi Planeswalker with the emblem Knights you control get +1/+0 and
Oh.
have ward 1.
I was kind of blown away when I read emblem. I'm like, what are we doing? What is this
Mhm.
emblem? But this emblem already exists. It's just on a planeswalker on the back of an invasion. And that's why I've never seen it before. Wow.
I think March of the Machines had, like, a Knights typal kinda
Oh,
sub-theme
yeah.
across different planes and everything, yeah.
Yeah, I did recognize the, like, 2/2 white and blue Vigi Knight,
Mhm.
like, I remember that token, but I did not remember this emblem, so, this is, get you reshaping, this is a Frankenstein, gathering a bunch of ingredients and making it a cool new card. I mean, the Knight decks would want this card for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like Kelth is part of that, cycle of, like, monocolored familiars with partner.
Mm,
The Kedis Emberclaw, the Falthus Shadowcat. I
yeah.
don't think I've ever seen this green one. I probably should have, I just don't yeah, anyways, I
Yeah, I didn't the white or the green ones, I didn't really know, but Kedis gets played a lot, so I have seen that one, the red one.
looking at Kelth in particular, this is a classic sort of thing where we're creating a 2/2 token and then giving you an ability that's like, "Hey, do you wanna tap a 2-power creature
Hmm.
to do the saddling?" So it brings the
Yeah, it
saddle
brings
along
his
with
own
it.
crew.
Yeah. But then once Keleth has attacked while saddled, now you have an emblem,
Hmm.
and now your 2/2 creature is a 3/2 with ward 1,
Yeah.
and so you kind of have this, like, "Okay, saddle me once," and then depending on your, like, knight density, you may or may not wanna saddle again because, like, now you're a 3-power creature. Now you can start.
Yeah, you need to get the squire onto Kelleth next time, yeah.
Mhm.
That is a little kind of a funny thing where Kelleth doesn't benefit from their own emblem,
Mhm.
which is fine, but it makes it a little bit vulnerable, I would say. Like, Kelleth is relatively easy to double block profitably. I guess maybe not profitably, because you also get a 2/2. So even if Kelleth only attacks once and then gets, trades away for like opponent blocks with like 2/2/2s or something, or a some
Mhm.
3/3s or something. Like you still have your 2/2 that is now a 3/2. So, you're coming out ahead no matter what with Kelleth.
Yeah.
Huh.
I can easily also especially imagine this in some kind of pre-constructed sort of deck where like, "Oh, hey, I was able to get my Kelth, I got 1 emblem out, or I got 2 emblems out. Wow, now my
Hmm.
various slightly dirtily knights are able to," or my random, "Oh, I didn't realize this card from Morning Tide was a fairy knight," or something, you know? Those sort of, overlaps to buff some of your random tokens or little ones.
Yeah, I remember kind of fondly the Sorin from Dark Ascension, Sorin Lord of Innistrad, which just has a -2 if you get an emblem with creatures you control get +1/+0. I remember that being this kind of like fun thing, like, oh, it's an emblem. Oh, I can like use it once and then at least have that for the rest of the game. But maybe I can like work it so that I get 2 of those, and that's extra fun. Keleth is in the same way. It's relatively easy to beat Keleth in combat, so you might not be able to get 2 emblems, but it can be fun to try to get 2 emblems.
Yeah. I like how, kinda squaresy the card is.
Mm,
It's
mm.
2 white and a blue, so,
2s and 4s, and yeah.
and then it's a 2/4 with saddle 2 that makes a
Mhm,
2/2, and
mhm.
yeah, vigilance plus the tapping for saddle. There's a lot of things that kinda, like, fit together in square
Yeah.
ways.
Kinda like economically made, like the token is a previously existing one, the emblem's a previously existing one, the character exists already, the saddle, like, lines up, yeah, it's, like, very precisely
Very
custom
fun
made.
stuff, and a great, first submission.
Absolutely.
And an emblem really is, even more than death, like, the effect that lasts the most indefinitely, right?
Yeah. Even more than death, yeah, you're right.
When do you think we will have the first card that removes
Mm.
emblems?
Oh, that removes emblems. I guess there's an uncard or whatever that does like a playtest card, but will we ever see that in, like, regular Magic? Hmm. I think it would probably if we get that I'm guessing the first time we get that just removes the specific relevant emblem about
Mhm,
something. Like, we're using emblems to track a thing that's like a set mechanic, and then there's also like the equivalent of like removing energy.
mhm.
Removing generic emblems, we might never get. I don't know. And you know what? They got to design another 20,000 cards over the next 20 years, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll get one.
It did occur to me that we did kind of get one card in a weird way, that
Yeah.
also is one that removes poison, from, New Phyrexia, which is Karn Liberated. It restarts
Oh,
the game.
restart the game. Yeah.
Which just barely counts, but is kind of
Yeah.
the way you get rid of those things.
Yeah. The one I have seen people play, the Mystery Booster one, is Naturalize 2, the sequel to Naturalize, that destroys an artifact, enchantment, emblem, or gameplay tracker.
Resetting your ring tempts you, great.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty, what's our next card?
Yeah, our next mission is from Dragon of the West. Of
Of the
the
West.
West. It's Kaitas Fathom's Reach. It's 3 and a green and a blue for a 9/9 legendary
Mm.
creature Leviathan Mount at rare. Whenever Kaitas attacks while unsaddled, it doesn't untap during your next untap step. Whenever
Mm.
Kaitas attacks while saddled, untap it. Each creature that saddled it this turn doesn't untap during your next untap step. And then it has Saddle
Mm.
5 with flavor text. One who completes the Leviathan's ordeal will find no foe his equal.
Wow. So 5 mana 9/9. But the downside is either it taps, gets stunned after it attacks, or its hitter gets stunned after it attacks. You got some Aether Drift in the background there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is such a large creature, a great blocker right away. And then if I want to end the game, yeah, I probably have enough material to get some stuff done with this Cadus. Yeah.
On its own, if you didn't have the saddle component, I mean, I could play this sometimes. Worst case scenario,
Oh,
I'm
you're saying if it just
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, if I attack, I get stunned. Like just no saddle, no outclaws. Yeah. Okay.
Because I'm a 9/9 blocker that then can attack once if needed without much cost. The
Hmm.
first time you attack, if you're doing enough to the board that you don't have to worry about stuff, that's not nothing. And then maybe you've got other ways. Maybe you've got this creature saddles as though it had power 3 greater or things like that. Or maybe you have
Hmm.
some 5/5. Maybe both players have enough 3 and 4 power creatures and everything that you can spend a 3 and a 4, or a 3 and a 2, or a 4 and a 1, or something like
Hmm.
that to saddle the 5.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is exciting. This is
Mm.
splashy. I think this is again, I think we talked some about this last design challenge review, about cards that can kind of fit to me aspirations to help
Mm.
lead them into Jenny sort of space of
Mm.
figuring out how to make, hey, it's 5 mana for a 9/9 Leviathan. This is so
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
I want to give this trample.
I have some theme where big creatures get extra abilities. Yeah. Like a Naya thing of if the set or the environment has some that could make a card like this explosive. I think the deal that you get on this card currently is just like a fair deal. Like you
Mhm.
you paid a medium high amount of mana for a giant creature, and that has like a weird downside. Like that's just like a fair card, playable, cool, whatever. But then part of what you're saying is like just because it has the word 9 in the power and toughness, like now I can draw cards equal to the highest power among creatures you control, or other
Sure.
things that like I would normally have a hard time getting for my 5 mana.
Yeah, I can station with this potentially well.
Oh yeah, station. That's a good
The
example.
card
Yeah.
is the card is cleaner without what I'm about to suggest in terms of just reading the rules text,
Hmm.
but I think, attacks while saddled, untap it, and it gains trample until end of turn to
Hmm.
to really make, even if I'm just, pseudo alpha striking, even if I'm just like, "Hey, I need to make this attack and I don't care about my next untap step,"
Hmm.
I think that extra little helping get over other creatures, I think would be
Yeah.
a useful part of making this card kind of like fun and work out
Yeah.
living its dream.
Yeah. I feel like this card is novel, does something kind of fresh, interesting. The 9 is just like a good number to see. But I do agree that it's just a hair weak for like an exciting rare to me. Like I feel like this is pretty answerable. So yeah, I think there's room to move, whether it's trample or something else. But yeah, very cool card.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily fit our bonus points, but I do think this fits the dream of legendary card with saddle really
Mm,
well.
mm.
Like a player going, okay, saddle, it's gonna be, horses, and then be like, wait, I, I can ride a Leviathan. I can do that. That's a nice
Yeah.
upgrade for doing fantasy.
Yeah, great card. Cool picture on this too. I wonder what that's from. Next up, we've got Church Wizard, who sent us Leo, the Library Lion. 5 green, white, blue. So 8 mana for a 4/5. It's a lazy lion hanging out with their favorite human in the art here. Legendary creature cat. So you get a 8 mana 4/5 vigilance lifelink. Whenever Leo becomes saddled, draw X cards and put a stun counter on each creature that saddled it. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. And a saddle X. Saddle X here would mean if I tap 2/2/2s, that's 4 power. I've saddled 4. And so I draw X cards and stun the 2/2/2s. That's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah. This I can see why this is 8 mana.
The stun counter is both relevant and comes off more easily because the creatures are being tapped to this.
Hmm.
So they will, you know, you don't have to tap and stun them because saddling is
Mm.
doing the tapping
Yes.
component
Yep. Yep.
of that stun. It's yeah, this is a this feels like such a commander card.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I don't mean to say in a bad way. It's just like, yeah, this is
Sure.
an 8 mana, 3 color card
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
draws you a whole bunch of cards and potentially fits in with other different synergies while also being just
Yeah.
Vigilance Lifelink 4/5 and draw you, I don't know, 3 cards a turn or something like that, probably.
Saddle sorcery speed, but
Mhm.
you can over saddle, and you can
Yes.
saddle like in separate parts of the like you can saddle twice in the same turn.
Mhm.
Normally, like for all the existing saddle cards, that's kind of useless. But for Leo, that's specifically like you're going to hang out with your favorite, wizened lion who happens to own a bajillion books. You could do that before combat, attack, and then after combat, be like, "Oh, I'm in a good enough spot. I'm gonna tap some more creatures, send them to the study." Um,
Or I can tap a 1 power creature and be like, "Did I get the land I need?" Okay, no, I'm gonna tap a
mm,
2 power creature. Okay, did I get a land I need? And then
mm.
do that sort of, sequencing as you see fit.
Yeah, yeah. Or I draw a card off of the first saddling that I can then cast and then tap again to
Sure.
continue drawing
Oh,
cards.
yeah, I can cast
Oh,
that
geez, that
creature
kind of pops
and
off.
then tap it, and then
Damn.
especially at 8 mana, you might have some, like, enchantments that make tokens when you
Yeah.
cast any enchantment, then create a 2/2 token, and you're like, "Okay, great, I'm gonna keep doing this and sequencing."
Whenever you draw a card, create a creature kind of triggers or whatever. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah. Big, heavy EDH card. I'm going to have the 30 game action turn after I resolve Leo. But Saddle kind of, because Saddle has that built in sorceryness.
Mhm.
I think the sorceryness it keeps this card from being like just giga insane.
I would compare it to, Azami, Lady of Scrolls, the, Kamigawa,
Oh, yeah,
card that is tap an untapped wizard you control, draw a card, that
yeah.
I would describe as, I think, just unfun to play, against in
I think that's fair. Yeah.
almost every case, and I think this with okay, we're caring about power some, it's a much higher mana cost, you're doing kind of more splashy fun things with it.
Mhm.
It's also 4/5 that can just, like, attack and do and can kill you
Mm.
more combat-wise, if the avalanche of cards doesn't, and that, like, opportunity cost of the stun counter, like, I think there's some more fun ways.
Yeah. Saddling here is sort of like going to hang out at the library with Leo, seemingly.
Mhm.
But I think there's maybe room for like saddling is getting on the back of the moving library.
Mm, mhm.
If we had like just like a giant walking turtle with a library on its back. When I saddle it, it's because I'm jumping on the turtle, and that's where all the books are.
The
Uh,
circular window that the characters are lounging and reading in the art
oh,
makes me think of the kinda, like, circular libraries in, like, the Wicked movie and stuff,
oh, okay.
where imagine like, people who have the really big, like, cat wheels in their
Oh
apartments or
yeah,
in their
yep.
houses?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if that had, like that, but huge with, like, bookshelves lining it, and so, like, the
Mm.
the lion is, like, rotating to get you to a
Mm-hmm.
different section of books as you're, like,
Mm.
riding the lion to get there.
When you pointed out that window, I thought you were going to say that window looks like a Pokeball.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I like the idea of like a moving library, and the library master is this cat who's getting you the book that you want.
Yeah, that's a
The
fun
catalog.
another fun Yeah. The library lion is a card cat, a log.
Catatog? No, that's a Atog that eats cats. No, don't do that.
I think historically that character does already exist in media.
Alien life form, Alf.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Which half our listeners are like, "Yeah, of course," and half our listeners are like, "What are you talking about?"
Exactly. Yeah.
These past 2 submissions, um, just a really fun, like sometimes I talk about the experience of playing the card or, like, the imagination, the
Mm.
fantasy. These are both cards that it's so easy for a player to be like, "Oh, and I wanna go do a big library adventure with my big
Mm.
fluffy lion friend. I wanna ride on top of a leviathan and keep smashing creatures even if it, like, knocks me out to do it." That I don't know, I think
Mm.
these are fun flavors that I don't know that we would have gotten to without even as weird a challenge as give us a legendary creature with saddle. So
Mm.
that's a fun thing.
Yeah.
Our next submission is from Juliet.
Hmm.
It's Antlu, Long Journey Dromedary. It's a
Mm.
single red mana for a 1/3 legendary creature camel mount at
Mm.
rare with whenever Andalou attacks while saddled, exchange control of 2 target lands, then switch target creature's power and toughness.
All
This
right.
effect lasts indefinitely. It has saddle 1
Then switch target creature's power and toughness. So you can switch this thing's power and toughness. It becomes a 3/1 forever
or until you do it again, in which
until
case
you
you
do
can
it again. Yeah. I guess it says then switch target creature's power and toughness. So if it's the only creature, I guess if it's saddled, it can't be the only creature on the battlefield. You always have at least 2 choices. Exchanging 2 lands is a wild effect. Someone's got the like Cabal coffers and Urborg, so all their lands are swamps. Then you steal the coffers, and now you have, they're making all your land swamps, so now you're
Okay.
profiting. You're making some deals in the desert. All right.
Part of my idea with this is I, of course, am always fascinated by, uh this isn't exactly a 2/1 mana creature with, upside and downside, but trying to think about mana disruption or, like, disruption in general as, like, something a 1 mana creature could do, but that there's, like, easy counterplay to. In this case,
Hmm.
doing some mana disruption that isn't, "I'm destroying your land,"
Hmm.
but is also, like, hey, if I'm playing on basic mountains, I'm kind of like blood mooning you from as soon
Hmm.
as I can attack with this,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
is unless you have like a use for the basic mountains or etc. Like we can be doing similar. How flexible is my deck versus how flexible is your deck? How kind of streamlined is my deck versus your deck? Mana
Mm-hmm.
considerations on top of I'm borrowing your Karoo or your your Cabal coffers or shifting
Yeah.
woodlands or
Yeah.
something. But with the you could just remove this creature on its own And
Mm.
maybe swapping it to a 3/1, that definitely increases its power for attacking life totals, but also makes it
Mhm.
more vulnerable if you want to keep doing these land switches. But also, you do need to have 2 creatures on the board to be doing this kind of disruption interaction so that
Mm.
your opponent can remove this or remove your other creature in order to, like, limit your ability to keep doing this, sort of land setup.
W Whether this is powerful long term, like you're slowly, crippling your opponent's mana. I guess in one-on-one, yeah, maybe you are able to steal all their good lands, replace their tri-lands with mountains. In multiplayer, this just feels like a funny thing that I'm subjecting my friends to more so. Like the odds that I'm going to like make a crucial swap that puts me way ahead feels a little bit low, but it's still kind of a funny card in that case. Yeah, I don't really know what the blood moony sort of like how good does that effect have to be where I'm slowly blood mooning. I'm slowly worsening their mana. How good does that have to be playable? And if it is playable, what is the ramifications of that being playable? Is that too annoying? Is that still fun? They can kill this, any remove, in modern or whatever. Anybody has the tools to murder this thing.
Mhm. This could be a turn 1 investment into
Mm,
that disruption, even if it starts disrupting on, like,
mm,
the Andaluz player's second turn, which, that could just be their first land, or
mhm.
it could be your opponent has already gotten their second land drop. So the speed at which it comes down, or, not needing to play a 3 mana, a Moon Disruption card, or, like, well, worst case scenario, this could be a 3 power creature, for
Yeah,
when something isn't as land focused.
yeah. It is the like old Mark Rosewater exercise of like the 4 mana 6/6 that has the ability of 9 mana. Target player loses 1 life. Well, the natural stats of the creature are solid, even if the ability, it's not clear how much value you're getting off of that. You're still getting a 4 mana 6/6, and you're getting a 1 mana 3/3/1, as long as you can saddle it at some point, which is good. Like a 1 mana 3/1, if that's just what the printed card was, that would do work for you in some context.
This is my very modern brained, like,
Hmm.
what would be a card for that?
Yeah.
And then multiplayer, just like, okay, here's the hijinks, whatever. I'm
Yeah.
probably not playing this as my commander, unless maybe I just want a 1 mana commander and have no other,
Yeah.
like, 1 drops in my deck or something, and
Like the
this is
Cobalt
my
0 mana guy. Yeah. That
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it did seem moderny. I don't know. Maybe I just watched enough aspiring Spike videos that like
Uh-huh,
I just
uh-huh,
absorbed enough Blood Moon content in my life that
mhm,
Blood Moon makes me think modern. It's like not complicated to understand, but it's like complicated to know whether it's good for you or not,
mhm.
which is good. It's an option. That's the modern player, right? Like there are 10,000, 15,000 modern cards, and it's up to you to figure out which one is actually good for the exact deck that I'm trying to build.
Yeah.
Next up from Nick, from Wooberg Nick, who I remember interacting with on Twitter sometime. They're back in the Discord. They pop in once in a while, and I'm glad to have them here.
I've read their blog, 12 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. They like kind of like you, they do like reformats of old sets where they're like re-envisioning chunks of sets, and I see
Mhm.
those posts go by. They sent us another card inspired by an old set, Prince Shiraz's Winged Wonder. This is a jumping horse that's 1 mana for a 1/1. Legendary artifact creature horse mount. So 1/1 with flying. Whenever you cast a knight or play a knight card with a name originally printed in the Arabian Nights expansion, create an ebony horse token. What are you doing to us, Nick? Whenever this creature attacks while saddled, it gets +1/+1 for each ebony horse you control. Saddle 2. Yeah, 1 mana, 1/1 flyer. When you cast a knight or play a card originally printed in Arabian Nights, not a lot of those spring to mind as cards that I'm jamming in a decks, but I guess if I want to play Shezerot or whatever.
Mhm.
create an ebony horse token. We'll read that in a sec. So I get to make a couple of these artifacts, and then when this attacks, it gets +1/+1 for each. Like the ebony horse could even just be a blank card because
Mhm.
that just gives this thing exalted almost. Like when this creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 for each horse you control.
Yeah.
Ebony horse you control. Why don't you give us what ebony horse does so we know what we're talking about here?
I'm gonna do a quick citation first, which
Oh,
is the idea of referring to specifically cards with a name originally printed in Arabian Nights is
yeah.
there is precedent for that in the form of the
Okay.
card City in a Bottle, which is
Mm-hmm.
a 2 mana artifact that just says those things are sacrificed and they can't be cast, or lands with that
Hmm.
can't be played. That's a
Mm-hmm.
fun callback there. Ebony Horse in particular is a 3 mana artifact, not a creature. 3 mana artifact with
Mm-hmm.
pay 2 mana and tap this artifact. Untap target attacking creature you control. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and dealt by that creature this turn.
So it has to be your attacking creature, but then it's safe from damage.
Yes, yeah. You can kind of remove one of your creatures from combat. Um, oh,
It's technically
is
in
it?
combat, which is weird.
Yeah.
It's
Did,
untapped. It stays in combat, but just doesn't take any damage or deal damage.
am I right in thinking this was Gust Cloak? Is that yeah? Gust Cloak's actually removed from combat, but effectively
Yeah, yeah.
that.
I think it would probably be that if they made this card today, or even only 25 years ago instead of 30 years ago.
Exactly. And so making a lot of ebony horses lets you have more
uh,
options, but if you
uh,
have generally speaking, most of the time, if you're attacking with a creature, you don't need to be removing it from combat unless your opponent is like playing a lot of giant growths and things like that, or like
mm.
tricks that have investment. We've
Hmm.
seen, I
Hmm.
think,
Hmm.
our friend Mark Confont talking about like coup tokens recently. If
Mm.
you've got some big combat blocking, if they cast righteousness,
Mm.
one of these +7/+7, as long as
There
the
you go.
creature is blocking things,
Mhm.
you could ebony horse your creature back out of combat and say, "Hey, I can still block you. I'm good."
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I guess my joke earlier of the ebony horse could be sort of a blank card and still be relevant to Prince Shiraz's Winged Wonder.
Mhm.
Ebony horse sometimes, especially with like a flyer, ebony horse is not going to be that relevant as an option because
Mhm.
it has to like makes it not deal damage. I was also kind of curious. So the Winged Wonder itself is an ebony horse, or looks like it. It looks kind of like the art for the other card. So are
Mhm.
these like the fan club horses that hang out and cheer on their favorite horse? Like, is that like what is what's the relationship between the Winged Wonder and the other ebony horses?
Yeah, or maybe it's like each horse can only really do this once every now and again, and so, a horse can really go at it if it knows, like, "Okay, tomorrow night, I'm gonna be like,
Hmm.
a different horse is gonna put on the same barding and do the
Oh,
the
okay. The
the
Winged
jumping
Wonder is
horse
a
trick."
rotating shift.
Yeah, secretly.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
Nick did submit a, like, old border wording, which I just want to read the
Okay.
first paragraph slightly.
Yeah.
If you summon a knight or play a card from Arabian Nights, select one of your ebony horse cards from outside the game and put it directly into play. With the idea that like complex
Yeah.
tokens didn't exist yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Something about that, I kind of like that more. That you have to have the ebony horses on hand. We're not going to
Mhm.
spot the token, because we've had like, I don't know, make like a Llanowar elf token that just like taps for a mana.
Uh-huh.
It's like, sure, I guess you could have a token that does that. But if you want ebony horses, you have to bring your revised copy of ebony horses in your bag, in your deck box to make more.
Yeah. Fun, weird card. Also not at remotely what I expected coming into a legendary saddle challenge.
Yeah, yeah,
And putting an ebony horse token onto the battlefield is a type of indefinite effect.
yeah. Okay, sure. Great submission. I
Wait, oh, sorry, real quick. Whenever this creature attacks while saddled, it gets +1/+1 for each ebony horse you control. That part doesn't end. So that part is the
Oh, that's the
definite.
Dealu
Yeah,
mode. Yeah.
yeah. But in the old border version, it does
Wait,
say
it
until end
does
of
end.
turn.
Ah!
But it doesn't on the new border version.
Hmm. Now I don't know who to believe. Yeah, in the
Or
new border
C4.
version, it's Dealu mode. In the old border version, it's as you'd expect it to work, like Exalted or whatever. Hell yeah.
Great submission gives us a lot to think about.
I'm so used to reading Nick cards that, like on Blue Sky or whatever, that are like legit cards, but just like reworks of old cards that I was not expecting, just like insanity. So this is
Uh-huh.
extra fun to review.
Our next submission is from Plumtree Chloe. It's Doretti's Cog Chair.
Hmm.
It's 1 and a black and a red for a 2/2 legendary artifact creature mount at
Hmm.
rare with haste and saddle 2.
Hmm.
And when this attacks, you may sacrifice an artifact.
Hmm.
If you do, destroy target artifact or creature. If
Whoa.
this creature was saddled, create a 1/1 colorless construct artifact creature token with Defender first.
Hmm. I would say the first chunk of this saddle text is exactly what I would expect Doretti's mount to do.
Mhm.
Sack an artifact to kill a creature. Like that's precisely what I would have expected Doretti's thing to do. So I think we hit the Dorettiness like square on. Um, that is a kind of a crazy trade to be able to make repeatedly. Like I could just start sacking my crappy stuff in order to get cooler stuff, and then I can make more fodder if I saddle first. Hmm. Wow.
And hopefully I might prioritize destroying the biggest creature on the opponent's field or something that could block this cog tear because it does need to attack
Hmm. Okay.
for
Yeah.
that purpose.
It's not that good at attacking. Yeah, it's a 2/2. It has haste, but it's a 2/2. So it like we kind of need to pick our spot, either get it down extra early and just like keep the ball rolling and just tempo your opponent to oblivion, or like wait for them to attack with their two big creatures. They only left uh like a medium-sized creature back, or they just played their third big creature. You attack, blow up the third big creature. My cog chair is safe to threaten to do it next turn as well. Huh.
If you have time to spend, you could I'm trying to think of how as long as you can saddle it the kind of first time or first 2 times, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be doing the sacrifice and artifact destroy in order to create the 1/1 with defender.
Hmm.
So, there's, I suppose, worlds where you are just doing this to get a bunch of 1/1 defenders. Most of the
Hmm.
time, you're probably going to want to destroy an artifact or creature that your opponent has. So if they don't have any of those for, like, multiple turns in a row, you maybe don't have to have anything to worry about as far as abilities your cards
Hmm.
have. But if your opponent
Yeah. Yeah.
has, like, hexproof creatures, I suppose, you could just be putting up a little construct that can chump block each turn or things like that.
Yeah, Doretti to me also kind of implies multiplayer, whether it's conspiracy or commander or something else, because that's
Mhm.
where I've seen the Doretti cards for the most part. And so like I get to attack one player safely, but destroy a thing for another player, but also create a token to leave back to block a third player. Like it allows you to like stay in the mix and do a bunch of powerful things. And like use your openings that you naturally have in multiplayer, especially multiplayer limited.
Yeah.
Doretti's chair having like some like I don't know Iron Man's car level of intelligence, like it can pilot itself, it can do a certain amount of work on its own. Feels kind of cool for Doretti. Like, oh, he's
Mhm.
off in another room doing an experiment in a different like harness or whatever, and then he's like, oh, it's time to jump into action, and then the cog chair like pulls up and screeches to a stop. He jumps in and peels out and starts murdering things.
Especially that it's like, okay, on its own, if you have no other permanents, just this in lands, it can go
Hmm.
forward. You know what I mean? Like it'll just keep moving. It's got haste. It's a 2/2. It'll just keep moving it. But then if you have something that can pilot it, if you have other scrap around, if you have like that those functions kind of feed into this, that you could play this with, a another Duretti card or with other cards like,
Mm.
this person is piloting Duretti's Cogchair for some amount of time or something like that. But that it still has
Mhm.
that stronger identity by being a mount rather than, you know, an equipment or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's more alive. My first read of this was that this card was like in one-on-one over the line in its ability to oppress a game. I would be pretty content if I had to saddle to get the murder effect. I would still be game to play that card. I'm not trying to take away from the overall card, which I think is excellent. Novel,
Mhm.
matches Duretti perfectly. Just feels like slightly too repetitive, slightly too lock someone out. Like I feel like I can lock out 30% of my games I cast this card just with this guy and like anything.
Yeah. I think maybe swapping the that maybe when this attacks you get a 1/1 and then like switch like making the destroy part
Yeah.
the saddle part or just making that whole ability bundled into the saddle. This also like could just be one black and a red. It has haste and it is an artifact. So you play one black and a red, it attacks in, you sacrifice the cog chair and destroy target creature, which
Hmm.
feels that does feel somewhat bizarre. I mean, it's not impossible for one
Yeah.
black and a red to just have destroy target artifact or
Yeah.
creature,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it does feel weird for this.
Hmm. Yeah. I would say it's not to say that like I dislike the design or don't think it's a good design, but just the numbers tweaky sort of feedback. It feels a little far for me.
Mhm.
Um,
Looking at specifically the Daretti cards, specifically Daretti Ingenious Iconoclast,
mm,
I
mhm.
think from Conspiracy, the one black and a red, so same mana cost. The +1 creates the construct token with Defender.
Yeah.
The -1 does sacrifice an artifact, destroy target artifact or creature. So this really does, this is a planeswalker, but as a as a mount in a sense.
Yeah. Kind of like the Teferi horse we had earlier that
Uh-huh.
was like really, reusing parts from other cards. Next up, we've got Miss Liss with Raska Crash Tar Alpha. This is 3 red red for a 7/6 legendary creature, Hellion Dinosaur. Crash Tar, I guess, is a kind of T Rexy spike thing. It has Menace and Haste. Jeez. All right, so it's 5 mana, 7/6 Menace Haste. At the beginning of your end step, this creature deals damage to you equal to its power unless it's saddled. Okay. If it was saddled by a knight this turn, this creature loses this ability. Parentheses. This effect lasts indefinitely. It has saddle 4. All right. So I was getting suspicious when I saw uncommon. This is the charging Monstrosaur on Giga Steroids, which was already a very powerful card. But it has this downside. If you don't control it, it will chew you up Lord of the Pit style.
Yeah. 5 mana for a 7/6 Menace Haste. Deal 7 damage to you at the end of turn, a very spiky sort of thing. Saddle
Yeah.
4, it's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world, but definitely not impossible if you're doing other dinosaur stuff to get the 4, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
is it worth me giving up 4 points of total power towards my opponent's face or blocking to save on 7 points of damage, directed at me? The
Yeah.
night thing is so there's, like, a really fun flavor to that, and it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
tell without knowing, like, without it existing in a real environment,
Yeah.
to know how much that's, like, trinket text, because as trinket text, it's really fun.
Yeah.
Um,
A skilled rider can tame even the craziest beast. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, and you can kinda see looking I think this art fits neatly where, like, okay, I can kinda see if somebody was really experienced, they might be able to ride that, and anybody else would get hurt quite a
Yeah.
lot trying to, uh,
Yeah.
sit atop it.
The set like saddle costs on a lot of the existing saddle cars just feel kind of random to me. Like, or they're literally just balance knobs. Like,
Mhm.
whereas this one, I feel like I get a little storytelling out of the saddle cost. Like, saddle 4 feels appropriate for a creature this wild, and I just need a lot of power to keep it under control. And and that plus the night text, like I think does a good job of justifying why the saddle cost is so high. Like, I guess for me, like one of the main saddle cards that I see is Calamity, which is this horse that's on fire, and it's saddle 1. Why is it saddle 1? Like, it feels like it would be harder to contain the power of Calamity than 1 power. Um, and so, like, the existing saddle costs are kind of nonsense, but this one I think is really cool. I like the saddle cost here.
It makes me think a little bit of, Bloodshot Trainee, which was
Oh,
in
okay.
Future Sight, and then, like, Scars of Mirrodin, and then I believe Green Hilt Trainee also matched that. The
Mm.
activate this only if this creature's power is 4 or greater. Uh,
Mm.
or
Mm.
maybe even a little bit of the ferocious sort of stuff.
Mm.
But specifically saying like, "Hey, do you have another creature with 4 mana or with
Mhm.
power 4 or greater?" No,
Mhm.
Raska will certainly help any of your cards that, like, are looking for total power. Raska turns on Formidable basically on its own if you need, 8 power across different things, or
Mm.
10 or 20, you're a lot of the way there. But asking for that extra 4 power, I think is neat. That
Mm.
you could have, like, a 2/2 knight plus another 2/2 or something like that, I think is kind of neat. You do need to get 4 in order to be able to saddle. You can't, like, incompletely saddle and still have it
Mm.
count as a partial saddle.
Yeah, I think the story on this card is awesome. The playability, I mean, this feels like it would beat the crap out of a limited game because I might not even care about the downside because I just deal 7 to my opponent. So
Mhm.
it brings a ton of power. It's very fearsome. It's a legend. A lot of the saddle creatures have like no story to them. I think that's part of the weakness of saddle is like some of them are cool, like I can ride the Gitrog or whatever, but a lot of them they're just kind of interchangeable. Which one's a cat beast? Which one's a possum? Which one's a brushwag? Like I don't know, man. They're all kind of whatever.
Mhm.
Whereas this is, you know, why this is a giant dinosaur is because it like deals a billion damage and hurts you. Yeah, so I like it a lot.
It's a little bit funny looking at the existing cards. There's only one existing card with Menace, with Saddle. And it's like
Hmm.
a gains Menace while saddled. I feel like Menace and Saddle are, to me, an intuitive pairing
Yeah.
because it basically says, I'm using 2 creatures to turn into 1, but you need to have the same number of creatures it would originally take to block both of mine in order to
Hmm.
block the kind of
Hmm.
combined 2
Hmm.
creatures into 1.
Yeah, I guess some of it like maybe is just the like most of the saddle creatures are animals, right? Which makes sense. Like, and they're like, I'm a lizard, I'm a, porcupine, I'm
Mhm,
a whatever. And so a lot of them just kind of slid off my brain. Like that menace
mhm.
one that you talked about. I probably have cast that card 5 or 10 times, but I did not remember it at all. Like the
Yeah,
menace creature.
Quilled Charger, the porcupine one,
Quilled.
yeah.
Yeah, Quilled Charger. I think it's only like the 2 or 3 that have had like constructed play,
Caustic Bronco, yeah.
but a lot of these are, like a lot of animals in sets. They do a lot of these in standard sets where they'll have 5 or 10 animals in a set to like fill out the commons and uncommons, but they end up being kind of forgettable, and a lot of the mounts are that way for me. Maybe that's why we want legendary mounts because those are cool as hell.
Yeah. I often think about, this is so silly, but Jagwasp Swarm from from Worldwake and
Right.
Lagak
Okay.
Lizard from Rise of the Eldrazi. Uh, mm, just, cards that are sometimes memorable because they play a role in a set, or like, what's the
Hmm.
least memorable card from all of Rise of Eldrazi? I'm
Yeah.
somewhat confident it is Lagak Lizard, a 3 in a red for a 3/3 creature
Yeah.
lizard with just the most generic,
Yeah.
sort of flavor.
If you're drafting a set enough times, you can bond with any card, no matter how bad.
Mhm.
It can be your bud.
Yeah, definitely our bud. I'll read the flavor text here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
"Took all my will, 3 of my fingers, and half of my blood to get her to trust me, but now we're friends for life." Sir Camo of Garganta Keep.
Very cool. Yeah. Powerful card. Thanks for the submission.
Our next submission is from Crypt Rat. It's Genku who gives piggybacks. It's a white-blue hybrid and 2 generic mana for a 1/4. It's a legendary creature, Moonfolk at uncommon. So 3 mana for a 1/4 with saddle 1, and whenever this creature attacks while saddled, untap target attacking creature you control. That creature gains flying until end of turn. Huh.
Ooh.
So this Moonfolk gives piggybacks, but not to the creature saddling them.
That is kind of funny. Because it untaps an attacking creature. The saddle, I mean, weird things aside, the saddling creature is not not an attacking creature.
I suppose Genku doesn't have flying, so this might just be a 1/4 that if you
Gains
saddle 1, it's like,
flying.
"Hey, I have vigilance and flying now because I untap and gain flying."
Genku was like one of the wordiest cards ever, the original one. And so it's funny to go from that to like super doting dad Genku.
Oh, wow, you are not kidding. This is this is a stacked card.
Yeah. And also, I think was Tamiya's husband, I want to say. Yeah, the husband of Tamiya. Yeah.
That seems reasonable because we've got the, kind of Tamiya's descendants here, Fox and Moonfolk, and,
Mhm.
Neshi, Black Rat with lifelink. Very fun, weird
Yeah,
little
it gives
guys.
piggybacks.
So yeah, like raising, here's Tamiya's disciples. Here, come climb on my back while we go
Yeah.
learn a new lesson.
2 thumbs up on the funny name for the card. The mechanics are not quite getting there, but you know what? It's fine.
If I needed to have a 1/4 flying vigilance, like uncommon, and was like, oh, I want to make a legendary creature to fit this other synergy. And okay, let's also allow it to kind of boost one of these other, it's a 4/1 in blue that does some drawback or whatever. Like, hey, here's a way to help that white blue kind of get over in the mid late game while being a fairly defensive early flyer. I could see arriving at this card through needing to fill a specific mechanical niche, especially in like some specific kind of Modern Horizons-y like limited environment, and then finding the flavor to be what would be a fun flavor for this? Okay, what if we called back to this? Yeah.
All right, thank you, Crepnet. Next up from Yabo, we've got Evil and Intimidating Horse, is the name of the card. 3 blue, black, red. Errata, casting cost is 4 blue, black, red. So I don't know if that will play into the rest of the card, but I thought that was funny. Legendary creature, Horror. It's a 6/6. So 7 mana, 6/6. Intimidate and Haste. Intimidate can only be blocked by creatures that share color with it or artifact creatures. It's an old mechanic. Whenever you commit a crime for the first time each turn, each opponent loses life equal to the number of permanents that you control but don't own. So whenever you commit a crime, you get to do that. Whenever Evil and Intimidating Horse deals combat damage to a player, if it's saddled, you may gain control of target creature that player controls. Whoa! And a saddle one and the flavor text of how hungry?
I.e., I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. That classic idiom.
I only know Evil and Intimidating Horse from like the meme. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's like awesome lesbian couple and Evil and Intimidating Horse. I don't know what the context of it is, though. Maybe I should look that up.
Sure, why not? The thing I'm thinking, of course, is he rides across the nation, the thoroughbred of sin. He got the application that you just sent in. It needs evaluation, so let the games begin. A heinous crime, a show of force, a murder would be nice, of course. Bad horse, bad horse. From Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
Oh, okay. Been a while.
Uh, you're saddled up, there's no recourse. It's Hi Ho Silver, signed Bad Horse. The head of the evil League of Evil is
Mm.
a villain named Bad Horse, who is, I believe, just
Oh.
a horse. It's revealed in the end. Anyways, it's an
Ah.
evil, intimidating horse, as we always see. So, as Joyce would say, as we see in real life, whenever you commit a crime for the first time each turn, each opponent loses life equal to the number of permanents that you control but don't own. So this is opposite to the group hug. Let me give you permanents. It's not
Yeah.
own but don't control. It's control but don't own. So you really want to be
Mm.
stealing from opponents or exchanging control of their lands with yours.
I guess, yeah, exchange also works. Yep, absolutely.
Camel works for the evil and intimidating horse.
Mhm.
I I do have to wonder about a horse horror and not just a nightmare. Like
Mm.
like, 'cause
You
nightmare.
see, that's because you don't know enough about evil horses now. These are totally different things, Juliet. What are you talking about now?
We have nightmare horses. There's 5 of them in
Yeah, that doesn't mean that this is a nightmare, though.
Yeah, yeah.
It feels like a snowball, and maybe on purpose, where I,
Mhm,
like, want to take control of a thing I don't own, use that to saddle, so that I then get to take even more stuff I don't own, like, I continue to grab
mhm.
stuff. So even, like, temporary steal effects at least also feed saddles into getting permanent steal effects.
You specifically are taking creatures from the creature you're attacking, so in a multiplayer thing,
Hmm.
I can't attack you and then steal one of Red Bay's creatures. I need to
Hmm.
attack Red Bay, specifically with evil and
Oh,
intimidating
that
horse,
player
yeah.
controls.
If you are active treasoning somebody's creature away, you can't actually permanently steal that creature that turn because
That's true. Yeah.
that's a fun thing.
Mhm.
Saddle 1 on a 7 mana 6/6 with haste is
Mm.
that this is very much like, listen, this horse has so much going on. It is technically a horse. We just barely need to get this one over.
Yeah, that's maybe the test I was developing earlier for the giant red thing that had saddle of 4, and, like,
Mhm.
feels right that its saddle is so high, like, it makes a ton of sense. I, like, am not clear at all what the correct saddle number for this effect is. Like, 1 does not feel right, like, anybody can come up and work with evil and intimidating horse. Yeah, saddle 1, I don't know.
If this was an entirely digital card game, I'm sure we could also have, like, Saddle 1 or maybe it's, like, Saddle 3, but this becomes Saddle, like, 0 as long as it's a creature that you don't own. Like, as long as
Hmm.
it's someone that you're borrowing, then, like, any
Hmm.
saddle works or something. In this case, any
Hmm.
saddle works because Saddle 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, yeah, it can only be saddled by things you don't own, yeah. There are a lot of temporary steal effects, but those are not quite like commander level typically. Like the 3 mana grab a creature for a turn attack with
Mhm.
it. It's not really commander level. But by having a commander that can reward you for temporary stealing with permanent stealing, something about that feels like that space has potential to me. That, like, can turn a bunch of cards that are below the line into cards that are above the line and playable.
Yeah. I wonder how well Saddle 0 would work.
Tap anything.
Because, like, Crew, that would get funny, but, like, Silent with total powers, like, could you it would still require you to tap at least 1
Hmm.
creature, even if it was, like, a 0 power creature, I think, to do the saddling?
Yeah, because it's tap any number of other creatures you control with total power. Like, it can't have a total power if you don't tap anything.
Right. Yeah, 'cause you'd still have to pay the cost in some
Yeah.
way.
The sum of null is not 0.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
All right. What's our next one?
Our next submission is from Red Bay. It's the two-headed rocket elephant.
Oh, of course.
It is 4, a red and a green for a 5/5 legendary creature elephant mount at Mythic. with flying, double strike, and haste. Naturally, it's a two-headed rocket elephant. Of course, it's a 5/5 for 6 mana with flying, double strike, and haste. It has, at the beginning of combat on your turn, tap the two-headed rocket elephant, and it deals damage to you equal to its power unless it's saddled. And then has saddle 3 tap only legendary knights you control to activate this ability.
So I talked about Lord of the Pit earlier, which is an old card. Like you have to sack a creature every turn or it hits you. This is like even more literally that, because beginning of combat, it taps itself and hits you unless you've saddled it. So you really do not want this on the battlefield until you can pay for it, because it has no purpose at all until, I guess, unless you just want to die. Yeah, but you need a legendary knight. It's got to have at least 3 power. So even if this is your commander, you need to stock your deck with like a whole bunch of legendary knights in red and green somehow. Maybe this is more of a 99 card. Yeah, I'm thinking.
Yeah. So if this works, you are tapping your 3 power legendary knight,
Mhm.
and in return, you're getting roughly 10 points of power.
Yeah.
It's double
Yeah.
strike, 5/5, flying
Yeah.
haste. I assume the tap the two-head at the beginning of combat on your turn, tap the two-headed rocket elephant, and it deals damage to you equal to its power unless it's saddled. I assume also the tap part
Oh,
is also
yeah.
stopped by the saddle. Otherwise, it's like,
yeah.
why do you have the two-headed rocket elephant? Because I think it's funny. You know, like that's the the whole purpose of the card.
Its feet are so strange.
Yeah.
The two-headedness I've somehow grokked, but crazy card.
It has like rifles for tusks. And
Oh, does it? Oh, it
yeah.
does. All right, that's funny too. It almost has like 4 feet per foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Like
As you
a
were.
like a mangrove tree in a way.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Each trunk is holding a crystal ball. Pinky straps holding the saddle on. Yeah, crazy card. I think people might play this if it was a real card in Commander. Like the 10 power is just like such a huge number. Though it can't really be your commander, which is the main reason that a lot of power can be good out of nowhere.
Not thinking about color considerations, 2 out of 3 legendary knights have power 3 or greater.
Oh, there are only 3. Wow, I would not have thought that.
No, sorry. As in like 2/3 of there's
okay.
63 legendary knights with power
That's fine.
3 or greater, and there are
That kind of blew my
32
mind.
legendary knights with power 3 or
All right.
yeah, there's
Order restored.
Final Fantasy alone gave us a lot of legendary knights, and
All right. What's the perfect commander for this Rocket Knight?
let me
There might only be 3.
yeah, there's
Wait a second. There are only 3, and 2 out of the 3 have. We got Adun Okin. 2 of them are from Legends, and then one's a D&D knight. Are you seeing the same ones?
Oh, my search got it down to 1 that has the power necessary, which is Gerard of the Closed Fist from Legends. That's 3 generic mana, a red mana, and 2 green mana for a common 6/5 legendary creature human knight. So, if you really want your Gerard of the Closed Fist deck to like have some extra pizzazz, you play the two-headed rocket elephant with it, and you can turn your 6/5 into a flying double strike 5/5.
Finally, some good cards for that deck. He's been waiting in the wings for 31 years or whatever. Yeah, very funny card. That it's just so much juice that it feels like it could do something, but yeah, mostly silly. All right, we got.
There's a lot on
thanks
this
for the
card.
submission.
Also, give it partner, and I think you could. we can envision a knight to go with it. There we go.
I like it. All right, last up, we've got a card. Hey, you asked for it. We've got a card from Partner With, who recently renamed. And the card that they submitted is called Destiny. The Destrier. Is Destrier a word?
Yeah, big horse.
Wait, a big horse? Okay.
Yeah. Big horse. A Destrier is like a. I don't know if it's a specific type of breed, but it's like a. It's a big horse for
Okay.
riding.
All right.
Does it?
Destiny the Big Horse is 2 white for a 4/4. Legendary creature Horse Noble at rare. So 4 mana 4/4 with vigilance, and whenever Destiny attacks while saddled, scry 1. Then, if she was saddled by a legendary knight, clash with an opponent. If you win, put a +1/+1 counter on Destiny, and a tapped knight you control is saddle 2. So it is a war horse. It's like literally jousting.
Looking at it here, Destrier, funny that it comes from. There's so many things in our Lean and Lovely English that ultimately are saying this thing is left-handed, therefore bad, aka anything saying sinister. Destrier is an example of this thing is right-handed and therefore good, coming from dextre, like dextra, right-handed. Wow. You learn something new every day.
What do you think the ordering of people who are ambidextrous are? Are they lower than left-handed? Are in the middle of left and right-handed?
I think they're like magical. You know, they're like, oh, is this a changeling? Do they have like have they sworn a pact? Do they have knowledge of the before times? You know,
everyone was worried that we wouldn't get our Juliet content this episode. Like we were too normal in the things we were saying, and now we got Latin in here. All right, hell yeah.
So scry 1. If you're saddled by a legendary knight with 2 power or greater, clash with an opponent. You know, I suppose the previous one, you could have a 3 power creature plus Adun Oakenshield. But no, you could only tap legendary knights. Never mind. So, okay, back focusing on Destiny again. Saddled by a legendary knight, clash with an opponent. Clash, unfortunately, a pretty terrible mechanic from original Lore and Morningtide. But, like, certainly being able to repeated clash and being able to scry 1 the repeated clash makes it so much better. Like, so much better as a mechanic.
Yeah. And this kind of makes your other clash cards like kind of fun to play with because you're starting to imagine I have the scry deck, you know, if I have cares about clash, like this card is like low stakes in its clash. If you win, you just get like a +1/+1 counter. But it's pretty good at winning clashes. So it's like it starts to mend the gap in clash decks, which is like, what am I just going to play all giant clunky spells? I guess we didn't read Clash, which people might not know because it was 18 years ago or whatever. Each clashing player reveals the top card of their library, then puts that card on their choice of the top or bottom. A player wins if their card has the greater mana value. So you flip them over. If they're both lands, it's a tie. If they're both 2 mana cards, it's a tie. But otherwise, you compare who has the higher one. And then if you win the clash, you get a thing. If you lose the clash, nothing happens. It's just a upside, I guess.
I do think specifically as, okay, here's this legendary horse. If you have a legendary knight with a legendary horse, now we can do this kind of show combat thing outside of combat. Like that as representation for like jousting as an idea. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that fits.
Yeah. 4 mana 4/4 Vigi is like really close to being a solid creature that you'd play in any deck. And so the saddle being only 2, when I saddle I scry. Scry is like a third of a card worth of value every time I attack. Yeah, and I guess maybe the thing that I really like is that because Clash lets you, after you reveal the card, you kind of scry it as well. So if you reveal that card and it's like 5 mana, after combat, you're like, all right, now's the time for me to deploy my other Clash cards to win even more. Which, I don't know. A Clash commander deck doesn't exist, but it would be kind of cool if it could.
There's Rebellion of the Flamekin is a elemental enchantment with whenever you clash, you may pay 1. If you do, make a 3/1 red elemental token. And then if you won, that token gains haste until end of turn. The haste part wouldn't matter here, but you could get extra tokens potentially if you're in a red-white version of this deck, or if this existed, I think you would just print like a new white version of this. It'd be like cool joust
Mm.
land or
Mm.
cool joust artifact, and
Mhm.
give you that a similar sort of whenever you clash ability.
Now that we're at the end of this batch, I am kind of feeling like legendariness is really helping me with saddle because having like 15 different generic saddle creatures in a set really made them feel generic. Kind of like werewolves sometimes, like the backside of the
Mhm.
werewolves are all kind of the same. The saddle creatures were all feeling the same, but having them be legendary, that's probably at least starting to have an uncommon, and then they have kind of cool, notable abilities. I can really keep track of that. I can remember a lot of these cards, even though they're brand new to me.
I mean, even though we're seeing today 12 cards over the course of this challenge, 30 plus cards. If we were printing all of these in a set and then had to tune them to play in a limited environment together, it's possible that then the original saddle cards not being distinguished from one another. I don't know how much of that is a previously fixable problem, I guess, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Hmm. Like if
But
we
yeah.
did another batch of saddle cards.
Or even just like if you and I were in the room for Outlaws of Thunder Junction
Yeah.
and making like figuring out which saddle cards we're going to print or for Aether Drift,
Hmm.
it is there space to have more of the like story or uniqueness, or it's like, no, we
Yeah.
need these to just all kind of fit a pretty simple
Yeah. We need to get it down to common, and it's kind of wordy on a common, so we really got to strip it down. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Instead,
Hmm.
okay, here's a 4/2 that saddle one stuff gets trample. Okay, this one it just gets a +1/+1 counter. We're trying to keep it as simple, straightforward as possible.
We saw abilities that only happen when saddled, and then there's no ability if it's not saddled. And then there
Mhm,
are other ones that have an ability all the time when they attack, and then have an additional ability if they get saddled.
mhm.
And I think that maybe that second category are the ones that like if the story is not good, that card is like really fumbly and forgettable to me.
Yeah.
When it attacks, put a counter on it, and then if it was saddled, gain some life. It's like, oh, what are we doing? Like, what does that mean? So it's been interesting to really move in on these saddle cards and think about them. I think in this submission we will have reviewed more saddle cards than already exist. Like we're we're greater than the pool of saddle cards, perhaps. But yeah, we got to stay signed up for even more saddle cards. We got almost a month worth of saddle to talk about here. We're getting yeehaw. We're putting our hats on and riding some Broncos. Do you have a
Any
favorite or
favorites
two
from
from?
today's
Oh yeah.
Tim, do you have any favorites from today's, crop of submissions?
Hmm. I think just off top of mind, that last one that we looked at, the Destrier, not only was a cool enough card on its own, but allowed me imagine a deck pretty
Mhm.
effectively. So I was pretty fond of that one. Of course, that like the difficult to corral dinosaur was another standout, I would
Yeah.
say.
Crashtar Alpha is it's r I think that is memorable amongst these for it's
Hmm.
it's one of those, like, yeah, it's a card that can win games even without the saddle ability and also lose you games if you are able to, like, match the saddle ability,
Hmm.
these sort of things fit together. I'm interested in not just having massively overstated, creatures, but I think Crashstar Alpha and, Kaetus Fathom's Reach, the, Dragon of the West
Hmm.
99 Leviathan, I think I'm interested in both of those as drawback, big stat, sort of legendary mount
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah, drawback mechanics aren't that common in Magic. Like one in a couple hundred cards has a drawback mechanic these days. Like they don't do them very often. But with
Mhm,
saddling, somehow I kind of like them. Like a big part of the saddle mythology is the like unicorn that's possible to catch. The like
mhm.
the violent horse that takes years to train. Like I think downside mechanics fit well with saddling to me.
And it's neat that ultimately what it's gonna ask of you is, do you have another creature? Like, that's
Yeah,
a relatively fun thing.
yeah, yeah.
And that they both still do like, this isn't a has defender and then can only attack
Mm.
if it's saddled.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
exists as this kind of overpowering force until you tame it.
But I mean, as usual, I feel like I'm really opening up my mind to like the total space of Saddle, looking at a bunch of different attempts. Design challenge submissions are usually trying to go a little bit above and beyond in terms of complexity. They're not trying to shoot for the common. Usually, they're trying to shoot for something, especially with this legendary requirement. They're trying to shoot a little
Mhm.
higher. But we got a lot of ideas that, at the very least, had some opportunity for design space. Like it had some extra nuggets to it, like the lion that you had to like send to lion school basically to read for a turn to draw extra cards. A lot of cool
Yeah.
pieces there.
And I'm looking forward to more of those, but the end of the first episode of one design challenge marks the beginning of another.
Yeah.
And if it was possible to be even
Uh,
more excited for a design challenge,
uh.
we we have the return of a favorite from last year with an
Yeah.
exciting twist. So April's design challenge is April Fool Us Planar Chaos.
Player chaos.
So this design challenge is you can submit either a real card from Magic with the name, color, and any relevant creature types changed, or you can submit a custom card. Either way includes spoiler text, so that's like double
Yeah.
line brackets
Mhm.
around each side of it, either with the real card name in the spoiler text, or we'll click on it and then it'll reveal that it's a custom card to us.
Mhm.
We'll be both reviewing the cards and guessing which one we think they are, if they're like real but color shifted and name
Mhm.
shifted and everything,
Mhm.
or if we're being kind of juked out, faked, uh, guessing on the pod. So can
Yeah.
you fool
Yeah.
Juliet and Tim?
Yeah. We between us, I mean, we each know, I don't know, 5,000 magic cards.
Uh-huh.
Our Venn diagram, you know all the Lorwyn cards, and I know like a chunk from, I don't know, Fallen Empires. So between the two of us, we have good coverage. Can you get past us? Last year, there was also like a big thread that we did not read, but that everyone else collaborated on to try to get ideas going. So if you want to brainstorm a little bit, look for that thread. Maybe we'll pin that thread to
Yeah.
like talk to other people to come up with, because the technology last year was already advanced. I'm very curious what people are going to deploy on us this year. I think the example I give, because I've told a lot of people about this last year's episode because it was so good.
Mhm.
Looking back, my gold medal winner for highest level technology was from James Dalton Bell, who submitted a card that was a previous entry in a design challenge. So it was a card that both Julia and I had read in the past. So we definitely knew of a card that had exactly this text, but it was not a real magic card. And that level of trickery is the kind of delight that I don't know. I really enjoyed about last year's episode.
I will always remember Pat submitting uh, the art of the card in indestructibility with or the art of the card indestructible aura, I think,
Yeah.
but with the text of the card indestructibility in a
Yeah.
way that was uh delightful and confusing. So
Yeah.
that was last year. This year we have the twist, which is planar chaos. You
Yes.
need to color shift the card.
Yes.
Uh, Ultimately, it just can't include the original colors. So you
Yeah.
could shift in or out of colorlessness. That would
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
would fit.
Mhm. Yeah, you could take a colorless card and make it blue. You could take like a Boros card and turn it mono black, but you can't take like a blue card and make it blue green. It can't include its original color. So, and that's if you're changing an existing real magic card. So you have to color shift an existing real magic card or submit a custom card. The custom card has no parameters. Like it's just anything that is plausible enough to make us think it was a real card.
Yeah. Which can get pretty wild because there are some pretty wild cards that have
Yeah. Last
existed.
year, someone found the one anti card I didn't know, which was exciting.
Yeah. So we have some optional bonus points to help narrow this down a little bit. They are
Hmm.
optional. So going along with our planar chaos, April Fool us. The first bonus point is times spiral.
Hmm.
The card has X in the mana cost or in both card names.
Hmm. So the original canon print and your re-flavor of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you've got
Okay.
still a lot of flexibility there, but
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
or you could be submitting a custom card and we're going, oh, I don't know. Or, you could not have the X, but the original card does. You can be there's a lot of ways
Mm.
to mess with this, but that's a bonus point you can aim for. And
Mhm.
then future sight, the card has 3 lines or fewer of rules text.
Hmm. Oh, that's just mercy for us because we're going to be losing our minds trying to figure out if these cards are real or not.
Mhm.
It's especially deft to use not many lines.
And those submissions are going to be due April 25th.
All right. Yeah. Got a couple weeks to get that in. I'm really looking forward to it. I think the other funny thing is like normally I'm keeping tabs on like the submissions and people's discussions, seeing what people are feeling for the challenge. Like with Saddle, people were talking about, I don't know if I like Saddle, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to not
Mhm.
know anything about the community sentiment going into the review. Like I'm going to know nothing about what people are talking about and what their ideas are. And so that's going to be especially fun for me. Um,
Everyone agrees to like they've just made a pact for every card is exactly Grixis, you know? Every card is exactly
every
Grixis mana cost and has Grixis in the name for the X, and we're like, "We don't know."
Too funny, too funny. Yeah, super
Yeah.
looking forward to it. And I think that's about it for the main pod for the week. Hop on the Discord. That's where you submit everything. We're about to head into another spoiler season for Strixhaven, so be sure to jump in and talk about all the new cards, all the potential of those cards. I'm sure we'll get some Strixhaven episodes going too. In between all of these saddle episodes. Uh, but yeah, you got anything you want to tell people about?
Not this week.
All righty. If you need to talk to either of us, if you want to be on an episode, give yourself that contributors role in the Discord. That's where I organize episodes and get ideas for episodes from people or other stuff for the Discord. And also, yeah, you can reach us on the Discord. Tim F. Riley for me. And I don't know, just Julie. I don't know what your actual Discord name
Oh,
is.
Discord, yeah, Juliet
Yeah,
Mouse on Discord.
there you go. And most of all, thanks everyone for listening.